welcome to Fruity Knitting. I'm Andrea. Andrew is here with me in the room, but he's just not on view right now because this isn't a normal episode. It's an update on Andrew's health condition. So if you're new to our channel, Fruity Knitting is a 90-minute program bringing you knitting inspiration from around the world, as well as extra snippets of travel and history and storytelling that we always hope adds some joy to your life and brings a smile to your face. So we now have a really great archive of around 110 episodes that are filled with knitting inspiration and tutorials and really great informative interviews with fantastic guests from the knitting world. If you'd like a suggestion of what to watch now, take a look at episode 93, and that covers the Vogue Knitting Live New York experience for 2020. So that was a 4-day festival that we went and covered in January around this time last year. And that episode includes a little collage of Andrew and my own experiences of New York and the festival, as well as a mini interview with the editor-in-chief of Vogue Knitting, Carla Scott. There's lots of footage of the fashion shows in the marketplace and also a series of fun vendor interviews. So that's a really full, vibrant episode for you to look at if you'd like a suggestion. So as our regular viewers know, Andrew was diagnosed with a brain tumour in October last year, and this has been the most challenging experience that our little family has had to go through. But we have had tremendous support from our very faithful patrons who we're incredibly grateful for, as well as also great support from fellow colleagues in the knitting world, so knitwear designers and other producers. So once again, we just want to say thank you so much, and we are deeply, deeply grateful for the support that's been shown us. Now, we gave our latest update on Andrew's condition in our last proper episode, number 110, which we released on Christmas Eve last year. Since then, things became a lot more difficult. Andrew's symptoms grew progressively worse, which was really traumatic for me because some of the symptoms are potentially really life-threatening. So that's been very, very difficult. As you can see, this is not a normal situation. It's not a normal picture. We're not sitting at home on our living room couch. I have got a little bit of fruit here and some fake flowers to make it look not so sterile, because I have actually brought him down to a specialized cancer clinic in the south of Germany in Bavaria. It's called the Heilwang Clinic in Bavaria. So, and we're really hoping that here he will have a much better chance because they're able to give him a much more sophisticated and individualistic treatment. So I know that we've got a lot of healthcare workers and medical professionals amongst our viewers. So I'm going to give you a bit of a description, but I'm sure my explanation is not going to be exactly accurate. So just forgive me and let it go if it's not. So it seems that the German health laws here are a lot more flexible compared to other countries as to how oncologists are allowed to treat their patients, particularly in private clinics. So for example, this clinic here has sent for Andrew's biopsy tissue, and they're going to do more tests on it, so above and beyond what was done at the university clinics, and they're looking for extra gene mutations, and depending on what they find, they will have the freedom and the access to immunotherapy drugs to use on Andrew that normally he may not have access to unless he were to qualify for a certain drug trial. And the criteria for qualifying for these drug trials is not just whether that drug could potentially help the patient. It also depends on the patient's age and their treatment history. And that's because primarily these drug trials are there to set up as scientific experiments, and they need to keep their data really clean. That's what they first of all need to do, so that these drug trials, which take years, can be approved for standard care and can get covering by insurance companies. So this clinic, if depending on what they find, will have access to any immunotherapy drug that has shown to be effective against any gene mutation that they find in Andrew's biopsy tissue. They will also have the freedom to use any other cancer drug that may not be approved for use on brain tumours, but is known or has been shown to be effective on a certain gene mutation. So they'll have access to that as well. They're also interested in using and able to use off-label drugs that can be helpful. So, for example, off-label drugs are drugs that have often been on the market for decades. They're very well known medically as to how they interact with other drugs, but also on different health conditions. And they've often got very low toxicity. Their primary use is something outside of cancer. So their primary use could be for diabetes or for heart disease, but they are known to also have very strong anti-cancer effects. So the clinic here is free to develop their own or put together their own cocktail of drugs that could be uniquely effective for Andrew's condition, because not his condition is, his latest diagnosis is a diffuse midline glioma grade 4, and that's a very serious diagnosis. But not every diffuse midline glioma grade 4 has the same mutations. So they can really put an individual cocktail of drugs or protocol together for Andrew, and they're free to change the quantities, the amounts, or just to move it around to really fit Andrew. They're also interested in using and integrating natural therapies as well to try to keep his toxicity levels as low as possible and just to help boost up his immune system. And for that, I'm really, really happy. So we're really hoping that he has, and I think he does, have a much better chance of survival here than he would have otherwise for his diagnosis. So I made the decision to bring him here on my own and very quickly in the end. So since we originally heard about his diagnosis, I've literally done hundreds of hours of extra research because we knew that standard care was never going to cure. It would only sort of give him a few extra months. So I knew that for him to survive and recover, he would have to have access to things that are sort of surrounding the standard care. And we hope that he'll be able to do that here. So as I said, I made the decision to bring him here very fast and on my own. Andrew was too out of it to object, which was great because it is very expensive here and he would have objected. So I'm really glad that I just didn't have to battle that with him. So he didn't know about it till I'd organised it, booked it, packed everything up, and it was time to bundle him together and put him in the car to drive him down here. So it's amazing to see that despite what avalanche or storm or hurricane life throws at you, there are always a few silver linings that you can find. And one of the silver linings that we've had is that this clinic normally has a lot of international patients, but because of the coronavirus, they were able to give Andrew a bed at extremely short notice. So inside, from the time that I booked him at the clinic to getting him here, it was inside of 24 hours, which was fantastic. And another silver lining was that I really wanted to get him here on the Friday and not have to wait for a full weekend without doctors being able to really look at him critically. But that Friday was a snowstorm. But again, because of the coronavirus, there was very little traffic on the road and I was able to drive him down here safely. And that was fantastic because I'm not a confident driver. I actually left home really early, so I didn't learn to drive until pretty late, until I was pregnant with Madeline at 28. And then I drove for about a year in Australia. Then we moved over here to Germany and we lived in the middle of Frankfurt. So the public transport here is fantastic and we just didn't need to have a car. So for 12 years I didn't drive. And then I started driving again. It's on the other side of the road. So I have been driving for the last 7 years, but every time that we go on a long trip, I always ask Andrew to drive so that I can knit. So I'm really not confident, but the silver lining, as I said, was there wasn't much traffic on the road, so that was fantastic. So now that we are here, I'm so glad I did bring him down on the Friday as well, because the doctors picked up on 2 critical things that had been overlooked. So I'm very relieved about that, and Andrew's really relieved as well, and he's incredibly happy here. So he's glad that I've made that decision, and that's really good. There is also a third silver lining that I want to tell you about, and that is we are in the most beautiful location. We're in the middle of the Black Forest, and there's been a ton of snow. So it just looks like the most magical winter wonderland. And the Black Forest has got all these very tall, dark conifers, and their branches are covered with this, very thick white snow. It's incredibly enchanting and exotic. I'll never get over it as an Australian, just seeing this very midwinter scenery. So I'm just able to walk out of the clinic and go for an hour's walk every day, which has been the best type of solace and therapy for me. It's a much more beautiful place here than where we're living at Offenbach. That's really not an attractive area at all. So this is just a blessing for me to have that kind of, taking a walk in beautiful landscape is the best kind of therapy for me. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. I actually wish that I'd brought down the drone, because I'd be able to get some stunning footage to show you, although I'm only ever used the drone with Andrew standing next to me so that he can take over for technical emergencies. But I did take some footage on my phone, so not a proper camera, but just on my phone, and I've put 2 minutes of it together with some music for you to enjoy. So that's coming up right now, because I just want you to see how gorgeous the Black Forest is right now, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. I hope you really enjoyed that scenery. It's another stunning day today. Today the sky is really blue, bright blue, and all of the snow is just glistening in the sunlight. It's a dream to look at. Now, unfortunately, we do need to ask for your help again. This diagnosis of a diffuse midline glioma stage 4 is incredibly serious, and with the standard care protocol, he's not meant to survive. At the best, they'll just extend his life for a few months. We've spoken to quite a few specialists, and they're very decent, but they're very direct about what they expect. And we really feel that Andrew's chance of survival and recovery is best at this clinic, where they can give him this really individualised treatment. So when we announced Andrew's brain tumour back in October, our patrons just were incredible. Many of them doubled their pledges. Some of them also gave a one-off donation towards the medical expenses that we set up on the PayPal account that we set up. And that they just went above and beyond generosity, which was amazing. And because of that money, and together with our savings, I was able to pay a big percentage of his treatment costs, which was wonderful. And you have to do that up front anyway to get into a private clinic. And so that enabled us to be able to do this, which was such a blessing, and we're incredibly grateful for. But we could easily be up by the end of his treatment. We could easily need a further 100,000 euros to cover his treatment. And I know that this sounds very expensive, but it is amazing how much cancer therapy costs if you look into it. The Brain Tumour Foundation estimates that the cost of treating a glioblastoma, which is a 4th grade brain tumour, is around 450,000 euros. Thank God that's not what they're talking about here for Andrew's costs, but it is extraordinary. And we are very blessed to actually have an audience that we can reach out to and ask for help for. Many individuals can't do that, but nevertheless, I am taking this opportunity to reach out to people. We don't want to be asking our patrons to be donating more money and being more generous than what they already have, because they've really gone above and beyond generosity. There is a ton of power and possibility in a lot of people doing something small. And when I look at the views that our last few episodes have got, for example, episode 108, I think, has 89,000 views. Episode 109 has, I think, around 80,000 views. And episode 110, I think, is coming up to 70,000 views. Now, our patrons are a very, very small single-digit percentage of our viewers. And if even half of our viewers, those 80,000 viewers, donated $5, just once off $5, we would easily cover the costs for Andrew's treatment so that he could stay here at the clinic and get this treatment. And that would be a miracle. That would just be wonderful. So we're asking you, even if you've only watched one episode, but that you wanted to check out because you were really interested in one of the guests that I had on and you wanted to learn more about them, we're just asking you, please, can you consider donating $5 so that we can cover Andrew's healthcare costs and he has a chance of recovery and survival by being able to stay here and get this treatment. So I really... we are very privileged to have an audience, like I said, to be able to reach out to. Many individuals just don't even have this possibility, but nevertheless, I am really taking opportunity of this and reaching out to you all and asking this. And if you would like to do so, you can do a one-off donation via our PayPal account, which is paypal.me/fruity knitting. All of that money will not be taxed. It'll go straight to Andrew's medical expenses, and you can just write for Andrew's medical expenses there. And we would be incredibly grateful for this opportunity that you would allow for Andrew to have a chance of recovery and survival. So, yes, I can only just ask you, please do this, and we will be very, very grateful. And on top of that, an extra thanks to our patrons, because your care and your support is just, like I said, above generosity. Thank you for supporting us, even though we're unable to put out the content that we used to. I have had a bit of a backlog of extras for interviews and things that I have sort of in an archive ready to spend time on editing and bring out to you, but I can only do that when it's at all possible. So I'm staying here at the clinic. At the moment, Andrew is incredibly weak. He's unable to do anything himself, really. I help him feed and bathe and dress, and there's a lot of vomiting going on, and I'm there with him all the time and throughout the night. And the nurses here are just wonderful. They're very kind, very positive, but I'm here immediately when there's a problem. And at the moment, from a practical and an emotional standpoint, Andrew really doesn't feel like he could go through it without me being here, and I don't want to be 3 hours away from him, at least while he's very critical. So it does cost a bit more, me being here, but it's a huge help for Andrew. So we do want to end on a positive note. We want to say that despite this most serious diagnosis, Andrew and I definitely have not given up. We are standing firm in belief for a complete and full recovery. And we are really grateful for your comments to stay positive and upbeat and encouraging. And we would love it if you could all really stand in positive expectation with us for a full and complete recovery for Andrew. So thank you. Okay, I've pulled myself together now. I'm going to spruce Andrew up a little bit. I'm going to put a shirt on him, brush his hair. He's going to prop up in bed, and we'll just say a quick hi, because I know many of you would just love to see him quickly.
So, folks, hi. Here I am. I'm just really trying to hold out each day, get through each day one at a time, and sometimes we break it into smaller segments that I have to get through. Andrea is just the saviour here. Like she said, I am glad that she got us down here. I think we need it to have a chance here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is really hard, and I'm just so grateful for Andrea's support. I can't say that strongly enough.
He's looking pretty good. I've just given him a haircut.
Tried to clean me up.
Given him a shave and a haircut. Yeah. But I think I did a pretty good job on his hair.
Yeah. You're a whiz.
So we're learning lots of new skills. There hasn't been a lot of knitting being done, but I actually took over one of Madeline's projects because of the lockdown. I don't have a project, and I was expecting some yarn, but it just hasn't come. So out of necessity, I've been working on Madeline's jumper, you might remember. She wasn't too happy about me taking over a project, but I just needed one for sanity's sake. So I've been working on her, what I call the Easter Bunny jumper, because it's so white and fluffy. That's the Rowan brushed fleece. So that's nearly finished. And then I think after that, if my wool doesn't arrive, I'll take over Andrew's lace. You don't mind, do you?
No, I can't object.
Okay. Well, take care, everybody, and thank you very much for spending time with us. Bye.
Thanks, bye.